I can still say that, right? Because it's my first video of 2024 and it's still January, so Happy New Year. Today I want to talk about all of my notebooks and planners that I'm going to be using this year. And when I say all, be prepared. There are going to be quite a few, but I'm going to explain my thinking and reasoning behind having so many different notebooks to manage. I've come up with this system over the years, and this is what works for me. So, bear in mind, I'm talking about how I'm managing my notebooks. You might find some ideas here that you want to adapt. Whatever doesn't work for you, feel free to just ignore it and just use anything that you find useful. Feel free to let me know what you think and ask any questions in the comments if stuff isn't very clear for you. So, here we go. So, the first and most important notebook, which is basically my notebook that I refer to as the hub of my system, is my bullet journal. I started bullet journaling in 2014, 2015 after trying a number of different ways of being organized and planning, both paper based and digital. I tried like three different digital solutions, which never worked for me. Then I tried using a Filofax planner, which actually worked for a while, but it just wasn't hitting right. Something about it didn't really work for me. And then I discovered bullet journaling, and since then I haven't looked back. Over the years, I have fiddled with it and adapted it. I've done the overly decorated ones, I've done simple minimalistic ones, and basically sticking to the original system as outlined by Ryder Carroll is really what works for me. I keep my bullet journal very simple. So this is a notebook I'll be using this year for bullet journaling. This is one of my own designs that's available for purchase on Amazon. I will leave the link below. It's an A5 dot grid notebook, and this is, like I said, the hub of my system. This is where I have my monthly calendar and my daily tasks and to-do lists. I also do have a few collections in here, not many. Um, I do use it if I need to brainstorm something quickly. I will do the typical method of turning to the next blank page and writing down what I need. But when I set it up at the beginning of the year, I keep it very simple. I have the index, and the index is actually built in. I set up my future log, and I do a future log for the entire year because of the way I have simplified my system. I generally only need one notebook a year for my bullet journal. So I set up my future log for the rest of the year. And then I have a few spreads, one with important info. I have a list of major purchases that I want to make for the year, and I also do two very simple logs for my reading and my creativity. Those are just a running list. As I finish books, I will note those down. And same for anything creative that I do. As I finish a project or a class, I keep a note of that running list just so that I have that handy. And that's it. Every month I do my monthly calendar, and then I do my daily logs with rapid logging. And if necessary, I will do collections, and I tend to use it to do collections of stuff that I don't necessarily need to refer to in the future, as in the future beyond this current year. And the reason why I do that is because I have other notebooks that I use to record information that I will want to refer to again and again in the future not just during this year, but also in years to follow. They're kind of like my reference books. That's how I refer to them. That's where I keep all of my reference information, and the type of information I keep in those reference books are divided into my reading journals, because I want to be able to refer back to notes I've made about books I've read, quotes that I've kept. So I have a separate system for reading, and I have a separate system for crafts. I also keep a separate business notebook, which is this one, which is another one of my designs, Lady Boss. It's a hardcover. It also comes in paperback. And this is where I keep all of my business development information, like not my daily to-do tasks. That's what the bullet journal is for. This one is where I brainstorm all of my ideas. It's where I come up with ideas for new notebook and planner designs. It's where I write down all of the ideas I might have for things like blog posts, for the content that I share in the Multi-Passionate Crafters Planning Circle, for brainstorming, schedules for social media planning. This all goes in here because this is stuff that I'm going to refer to over and over again. And so far, this is probably, I think this is the second year I'm using this notebook. I started this one in 2023. And this is also where I put, if I do business related classes, all the notes for those will go in there, because I know that I'll be referring to them time again, and I need to know how to find those quickly. I've learned over the years that I don't enjoy having to go through bullet journals that I've kept previously to find information. Once upon a time, I tried to do the one notebook for everything, where I wrote everything down, but eventually I realized that didn't work for me. After a few years, there was information that I was trying to find, and then I had to go through my full stack of bullet journals. So now that's why I keep these separate systems with the kind of information that I need to refer to again. So, right, so that's my business notebook. And now we come to reading journals. So I think I mentioned in my video about how I rate books that I have not been very good at consistently keeping up with reading journals. And I'm going to make a really big effort this year to do that. And to do that, I have pulled out two more of my notebooks. So this one, the Binge Less, Read More reading journal, which tries to encourage you to watch less TV and read more books. And actually, the Binge Less, Read More is kind of a riff off of that line from Hamilton, talk less, smile more, which is one of my favorite lines. If you love Hamilton as much as I do, you will get that reference. So this is a very simple reading journal. It has approximately 100 layouts, one-page layouts that you can use to keep track of your reading and your reviews. There's an index so that what I'm gonna do is I will be able to easily refer to where I have reviews, because I'll have index with page numbers. And this is what I'm going to use for my general reading. Like anything that's not for a book club will go in here. And then for all of my book club and also my Page Turners Plus, which is the review program that I do, I will put these in here. So that's 3 different clubs. There's the Sister Reads Book Club, so that's 12 books this year. There's the Caribbean Book Club, that's another 12 books. And then there's Page Turners Plus, which is yet another 12 books. And there's just enough spreads in the book club journal for that. So Um, the layouts in this one are a little more complicated, not complicated, I should say. They're more comprehensive, and it's a 2-page spread because it's meant to help you and me this year actually write out the notes that we want to bring up when we have book club meetings. So, apart from just a simple title, author, genre, you also have which month the book is for, which club the book is for, and also if the book happens to fit in a reading challenge, then you can note down what challenge it was for. You can write in your favorite quotes, things to look up, and then review notes for your meeting. So that's what I'm going to be using for all of my book club books. I've already started with the first meeting for Sister Reads book club this year. I have all my notes here for how beautiful we were that we met to discuss in January. So this is going to be how I'm going to keep track of my book club books. This is how I'm going to keep track of everything else I read. And if that sounds like a lot of books, yes, I read a lot. Last year, I read 62 books, which was actually short of my goal of 70. The previous year, in 2022, I read 73 books. My goal again this year is 70. I think that's about a comfortable number for me. So that's why I'm using these two. I know that between the book club books, this is going to be around 30 books because sometimes there's overlap, especially between the Caribbean Book Club and Page Turners Plus. Sometimes the books that we're reading are the same, so I won't need 36 spreads in this book. So all of that information is going to be in here. That means it's going to be very easy when I have my meetings. I just know to grab this book, and then this will be for everything else I read. In addition to these two, I also want to keep track of things like my TBR to be read, and the challenges that I want to do. So I'm going back to my original reading journal that I started a couple years ago. I mentioned it in that video about rating books. And so I've started making lists in here. I have a list of my TBR. I've started my TBR list. I want to try to write out as much as possible, especially the ones that I know that I really want to read this year. Then one of the challenges I've set for myself is to read all of the books that have been longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. That's a huge challenge because this prize has been around for like 30 years. So I want to list out all the long lists of the last 30 years. Some of them I've already read. In fact, the reason why I'm doing this challenge is because when I started looking into the Women's Prize, I realized that I had already read quite a few of the books that had been longlisted or won. And I realized that many of them were some of my favorite books. So that's why, for me, I really like finding out what books have been longlisted for the Women's Prize, because it seems like I have a bit of an affinity with those types of books. So, yeah, so I've started listing those out. And then what else have I listed? Then I'm doing the Mood Readers Challenge this year. You can find that on Instagram. I'll put that in the description. So I've listed the challenge categories for that so that I don't have to keep checking on my phone if I need to remember like what's happening. And it's just a really simple list. I'm not drawing up like a fancy spread. I've done that before where I draw like a beautiful spread with all the challenges and then I never use it. I'm keeping it simple this year. I also, it's kind of a joke with someone that I follow on Instagram, Diana Thorbun. She's from Jamaica. She recently did a recap of her books from 2023, and it turns out that her her top 7 books. I actually own all of the books that she loved the most last year, but I've only read one of them. So I jokingly said, "Oh, I think I'll be doing the Diana Thorbun challenge this year." And since I already own all the books, right? So that's one list of potential reads this year. And if you're interested, I will link to her as well. The book that I've read of the 7 that she said were her favorite was is A House for Mr. Biswas by V.S. Naipaul. So that's it for reading. So this, and then my goal, however, this year is to see how I use these 3 notebooks for reading, and then try to actually maybe combine that into one notebook next year. We'll see how it goes. I might still keep the book club books separate because, like I said, it's really convenient to just grab this and know that the only thing in here is a book club book, so I don't have to be rifling through too much to find stuff. So that's it for reading. Then, of course, my next big thing is crafts. As you know, my thing is all about planning and organizing and getting more crafts done. And I know people will say, well, why are you so focused on getting more crafts done? I should probably rephrase that. It's really more about finishing crafts. There was a period of time where I would start lots and lots of crafts and then things wouldn't get done. And the joy, while I do enjoy the process, I also enjoy having finished things, especially useful things like clothes I can wear, things for my home, gifts for people. So my focus is on making sure that crafters like myself, who are multi-passionate and who get easily distracted and pulled in different directions, bright, shiny objects, actually have a plan for finishing the things that they really love to make. And so over the years, I have been using just a regular notebook where I draw up project pages for everything that I want to do to make sure that I have all the information handy. I've been using this one for the last 2 years. I'm about to retire it, and I'm actually going to use 2 of my dedicated planners that are also my own designs. So the main one is going to be this one, which is the 365 days of making, and it includes a calendar for every month where you can set up your priorities and set up deadlines of the when you want things to be finished by. And then it includes layouts so that you can track the projects that you are doing. There's 4 project sheets for each month, which I think is more than enough, even for the most prolific crafter. 4 projects a month, that's literally 1 project a week. I think that's quite a lot. So what I'm going to do this year is that I'm using this as my main project planner, and I'm going to do in here, I'm going to do every other type of craft except for yarn crafts, knitting and crochet. For those, I'm going to be using my Organized Knitters project planner, which is made specifically for knitters and crocheters. I will probably do another version that has both knitting and crocheting on it for those people who do both, as well as a separate crochet one for people who only crochet. This one is a knitter's planner, but I'm gonna use it for both knitting and crocheting since I actually do more knitting than crocheting these days. So this is where I'm gonna keep all of my yarn projects, and what's good about this is that I can also keep track of all of the lists of projects that I want to make, as well as yarn and other supplies that I own or want to purchase. So that will be the way I will keep track of my crafts this year. Like I said, I have been using separate notebooks for my crafts for the last I don't know how many years, 6 or 7 years probably. And apart from project spreads, I also have reference type information in these notebooks. So this is one of the most recent one that I've been using since 2021. If I'm not mistaken, I'll double check that. It also comes with an index, and the pages are numbered, so you can easily find back information. But I also have two others. This was my very first one that I used. Let me see if I can see what date I started using this. I think this was 2007. See, here in the middle it says 2018. So I've been using this one since 2017. Handmade gift ideas, right? So I've started having a separate notebook for crafts in 2017 after having been bullet journaling for 3 years. And then this was the one that followed on after when this one got full. And while I no longer need the information on all of the different projects in here because I finished most of them, so I should say, I mean, I'm going to keep these notebooks, right? Just in case I need to do look back on stuff. But in these 3 notebooks are quite a lot of reference information that I will be using throughout this year. So now that I have 3 notebooks, I'm going to go through them and transfer the important bits of information that I have noted over the last, how many years is that, since 2017? 6 years, almost, yeah, 6 years. And I'm going to transfer them all to a new notebook. And I think from now on, this one will just be my craft reference book, and I will continue using my planners for current projects. Okay, just a couple other things I wanted to talk about. You might know, if you have been around for a while, that I was a really passionate scrapbooker several years ago, and I kind of fell off that wagon. I think that happened to quite a lot of us when we got smartphones, and it was just simpler to, take photos on your phone and do a blog post or share them on social media. So I've kind of fallen off of the memory keeping on paper thing, but I want to get back to it. And I have spoken recently about trying to keep track of what I've been doing in my daily life. That's not work. And I'm gonna start using this ink journal to note down everything I'm doing during the week, to then use as a reference to get back into memory keeping, like, literal scrapbook pages or mini albums. So this ink journal will help me to write down during the week what I'm loving, what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, what I'm making, what I'm feeling, reading, learning, and then any other ing word that is relevant for that week. It's a really simple layout, which is kind of my thing this year. Is I'm really trying to keep things simple, because when they get too complicated, then I don't keep doing them. Last year I had this brilliant idea to use a weekly planner, and my mini printer. I have a little mini printer that prints out 2x3 photos, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do daily daily scrapbooking, and that didn't last more than 3 weeks. So I'm hoping that this will get me to at least document what's happening, and then, moments, and then I can go back when I have time, or when I feel motivated, and actually do scrapbook pages or mini albums or what have you, that are more traditional. finally, the other notebook that I'll be using this year is gonna be my notebook for journaling my word of the year. That's another one of my designs. This is something I've been doing for the last few years to make sure that I am actually keeping my word close and that my word is actually meaningful and really doing the job of being a lighthouse for me for the year. I've spoken about this in previous videos. And so this is the notebook that I'm going to be using this year to do to keep my word close by journaling. There's various different prompts that I use to make sure that I am thinking about my word and I am using my word and that my word is guiding me. So, like I said, yes, this is a really huge stack of notebooks, but this is what works for me. For me, the important thing, and of course, I'm not going to be using all of these because some of these are the older ones that I will be. Let me take those out and show you actually only the ones that I'll be using. Still quite a big stack. Yeah, here we go. Still quite a big stack. And have you noticed a color trend? I absolutely love any shade of turquoise, aqua, teal, so I tend to use them a lot in my designs and in my clothing now as well. So yeah, these are the notebooks that I'm going to be using, and even though it might seem like a lot, one of the things I've learned about myself and my planning style is that I need to compartmentalize. The important thing for me is that I know where to find the information I need. So since I know what notebooks I am using and I'm using them to, in theory, write everything down, when I need a bit of information, I know exactly where to go to look for it. Like I said, my bullet journal is kind of the hub of it all. This is where I write down what I need to do. This is not really reference information. This is where I write down what I need to do on any particular day based on the plans I've made in my other notebooks, especially my craft notebooks. Like in my craft notebooks, I've planned out what projects I want to work on this month, but to actually break it down into the smaller tasks of getting it done, it's in here in my bullet journal that I will write down, okay, you need to be knitting this thing today, or you need to be working on this scrapbook page today, or you need to be working on this sewing project today, to make sure that I actually get them done during the month. So, like I said, let me know if you have any questions about any particular area that might interest you more. Maybe there's only like one of these things that you want to do, and if you want to find out more about it, feel free to let me know in the comments. Also, let me know how you approach planning all the different bits of your life. Are you a one notebook person, or are you a person that needs various different notebooks to keep it all together? So that's it for me and planning for 2024, and I will see you